I like creating structures where people that work closely with me, I love a percentage of revenue goes to them, or, or a percentage of profit
exactly,
goes
because
to them.
they're getting what they're worth. I missed that point. He's correct. You give them an incentive deal. I believe everybody should have an incentive. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event of the evening. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from our sold-out penthouse suite in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's time! Introducing our champion, fighting out of the gold corner, a world-renowned investor, entrepreneur, and wealth coach. Entrepreneur Magazine dubbed this man a stock market savant and self-made mogul. He stands 6 feet 1 inch tall, weighing in at 250 pounds, deliverer of the 10 Commandments of Wealth, mentor and guide to the world's brightest and most ambitious minds. The reigning, defending, undisputed champion of wealth, Derek Moneyberg. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you very much. Putting away my phone. We know the routine. Okay. All yours.
Well,
Yep.
that was a fun adventure.
Definitely a fun. It's always a fun adventure with you, Derek.
I've thought several times, I've said to many of the fighters you've introduced that I interviewed at least 30 champions just from UFC and many others.
Right.
And so it's an honor to be introduced by Bruce Buffer. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. That's very thoughtful, and it's quite a statement of friendship and so on. So I really appreciate that.
You got it, Derek. My pleasure.
You. A few things that this audience would be interested in that I think you could share a lot of wisdom about is things like work ethic, things like, on the internet you see that if you use the secret and just hope or wish really hard, you're going to somehow be extremely successful. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't been my experience in life, and I doubt it's been your experience in life. In fact,
Nope.
I know not. And something that I have a lot of respect for you about is your consistency.
Thank you.
And you did 25. You're in your 26th year, I believe, at UFC. And
February.
Never misses a show. I know that COVID got you one time.
It got me. It got me bad, but I got out of it. Yeah.
So the first 24 years, never missed an event, I've heard.
I've done that event with blown out back, blown out knee, one leg, 104-degree temperature. It doesn't matter. The thing is, guys, is that, and gals, is the fighters are putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line, okay? I got to announce, and I announce with all the passion I have in the world, and the moment that passion wanes, you're going to hear I'm going to retire. And I used to bang a lot, so I introduced the fighters the way I would want to be introduced, which is why you see me go a little crazy at times. But show business, the show must go on. I don't care, I can always do my job. They're fighting, I'm announcing. And if you saw like the one when I was in front of 55,000 people and I severed my ACL announcing Georges St. Pierre, and I didn't fall, thank God, but I'm limping on one leg, whatever the case might be. And you know what? It's just a proof of my love for the UFC and my love for these fighters and the fans. Because without the fans, we're nothing. It's as simple as that.
I had a situation in pre-COVID. I had 6.5 years. I was on tour, 51 weeks a year. I'd be somewhere. Mm-hmm. The 1 week I stayed at home, I didn't stay at home. I just did an event in that city. So 52 weeks a year, I did live events, and I was in front of people 3-4 days a week. And I never missed one day. I went there with fevers. I went there with headaches. I went there with broken teeth. I went there with every problem, all the problems a human has.
Sure.
And we're traveling around the world, and you know exactly what that is. Mm-hmm. I was flying, in 2019, I flew 250,000 miles, almost exactly 250,000 miles, 132 flights.
I know that rodeo.
And that's something that, again, is the reason that I say that I respect that about you, is I know how hard that is, that most people have no real conception. They never live their life that way.
Well, one of the secrets is to make what you do look easy, right? And one of the reasons I named my bourbon puncher's chance was because that's what my life's been like my whole life. I've been an underdog, as I'm sure everybody here has been an underdog at one point or another. One punch can change your life, you know. Life to me is, one of the bufferisms I always say is BSC. You got to have BSC before you sit down at the blackjack table, before you go in to fight somebody, before you go in to make a business deal, ask that girl out, whatever the case might be. It's called balls, skill, and confidence, right? But you got to have a 10 to 20% luck factor of timing. It's all part of everything in life. So, but you've got to see yourself, you've got to stand out, and consistency, like Derek pointed out. This is why Derek's a great coach and a wonderful mentor to have. And working with him, I respect that because I've seen the good he's done for a lot of people. The real good he's done for a lot of people. And consistency is key. And you want to realize in life what you're passionate about. And then if you can monetize your passion, like in my case I've done with the UFC, and if you follow me on Instagram, all the other businesses that I run, the products I come out with, the management of my brother, Michael Buffer, the legendary Let's Get Ready to Rumble announcer, I only met him when I was 28 years old. I never knew he existed. I didn't grow up with him. I saw him on TV. I was a big boxing fan. My grandfather was champion of the world in boxing in 1921, and my dad had me involved in fighting sports since the age of 5. And I became a big fan, but when they put his name on the screen, I'm like, who is this guy, right? And long story cut short, people were coming up to me saying, that's your brother. Is that your brother, the guy that goes, let's get ready to rumble? I go, no, because he was more popular than the fighters at times, back when boxing was so huge in the 80s and 90s, and of course even today. So with that being said, we finally met. I had my dad call him when he was in LA. They went out to lunch, turned out to be his long lost son he hadn't seen since 2.5 years old. My dad never told me that he existed. He never told me he was married for 9 months during World War II and a child was born, and a divorce happened right after. And Michael was raised by foster parents under the name of Huber. And at 20, he went in the Army. He never changed his birth certificate, but he's never formally adopted. They go, you're not Michael Huber, you're Michael Buffer. Had that not happened, we would have never met. I wouldn't be sitting here. It's amazing, those fork in the roads that happen. And I own 2 successful companies at a beach house, living the life of 2.5 men like Charlie Sheen minus the alcoholism. I'm serious. And making incredible money. I was in the telemarketing industry. I was the Wolf of LA, like the Wolf of Wall Street, but I didn't do what he did. I didn't cheat people. I had an office supply business, making incredible money, but I was burned out. I've trained thousands of people how to sell, and I was completely burned out. I met Michael, and I realized he needed to trademark these 5 words of air. I wanted to make him richer than he ever dreamed, more famous than he ever dreamed, hopefully myself in the process, and I wanted to be an announcer. We agreed I wouldn't do boxing. I said, something come along, and I became his partner, his business manager, sold the 2 companies, quit with the money I had in the bank, gave up everything. Everybody thought I was completely nuts. Rolled the dice. Even my parents were like, what are you doing? And sometimes, like Tom Cruise says in risky business, you got to say, what the fuck? You got to go for it, right? So that's what it takes, guys. Monetize what you're passionate about, and then when you get hit, you fall down the canvas, you get up like Rocky said, you move forward, you punch harder than ever. There's simple theories of life that create success.
Now, you got quite a martial arts background yourself. You got at least 1 black belt I'm aware of.
I have 3 black belts.
Is that all?
Yeah. I'm a second-degree black belt in Tang Soo Do. I kickboxed heavily for 10 years. I was going for my first pro fight. Just to say I did it at 32. I got concussed twice during training. Probably was concussed I don't know how many times before. And the doctor, it was a really bad concussion, and the doctor said, you got to stop. So I just kept training. But I also, a French Savate special forces guy named Pierre, had his own hybrid style called Jiu-Jitsu Do. And he was training Jiu-Jitsu fighters, and he would bring me in to spar and teach his black belt striking. So after about 9 months of doing that, sparring with the guys, because what I found is ground fighters don't really adapt to striking well, where strikers adapt to ground fighting better. And after going through all I went through with him, he came out and presented me with a black belt honorary. So I am not a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm on the record as having that black belt.
I got my blue belt test next week.
Go for it, man. With Hoist?
Jake Shields.
Oh, Jake?
Yeah.
Cool. Tell him I said hi. Great.
So I've been training. I've been training with all these guys that I've gone through a blue belt test with Hoist this week, with Frank Mir, with Gilbert Burns, with Derek Brunson, and all of them said, yeah, that's
definitely training with some great guys.
Yeah, I got quite a roster. But yeah, then I've learned so much from them too that you have that type of talent around. You're going to learn a lot quickly or give up.
Well, here's another thing. I mean, he just mentioned something that a great coach and mentor will mention to you. You want to surround yourself with quality people. You want to surround yourself with the best business people you can be with. Like, I'll go back to my bourbon puncher's chance. I was offered a tequila 3 years ago. I was offered a cachaça rum out of Brazil, and I could have made money off all these. I mean, they offer you upfront money, the whole bit. but the business acumen of the people was not good, and the products I didn't care for. So don't always, it's not always about taking the buck when it's thrown at you. You got to do what's right. Don't think about the upfront shot. Think about the consistency of the long-term involvement and where it's going to go. And I was lucky to get incredible partners with my Puncher Chance bourbon, and now as a result, we have 6 gold medals for taste and design of the bottle, and we were just voted the top 5 best sipping bourbon in America. Why? I surrounded myself with the best, and when I tasted the product, being a bourbon drinker, I realized how great it was, so I went for it. Otherwise, quite honestly, at this point in my life, and I do this a lot now, Derek, because I'm so busy, sometimes I'm like a camel. I don't want the straw to hit my back, and I just can't do anymore. So I turn down deals now, which I never would have 3 years ago, trust me. Always take the money.
That's something I've talked to them with a lot for years. That's not like a trendy concept in my mind. Is like, I really don't want the wrong money from my clients. From the stock market, I like all the money I get from the stock market.
Are you getting a lot these days?
Almost all. I'm getting my ass handed to me, but I also made about $40 million in 2 years right before that.
So you can have a little handed to you.
If I lose 20% of it, it don't hurt my feelings too much. And I also think that that there's still a lot of opportunity in stocks right now that if you look back 2, 3, 4 years from now, people are going to be very disappointed that they didn't buy some things at the current price.
Just leave their money in and let it go wherever it's going to go.
Yeah, so that doesn't hurt my feelings. But what the hell was I saying before? Oh, about turning down the wrong money. These folks are all in. I have a mastermind group. They pay $20,000 to join if they're invited, and there's a lot of people that several times many times have to turn down that $20,000. And I think to myself, I know you'll think similarly, but I love that you made that point, and very few people talk that way, and they're familiar with this system with me. That if you take an extra $20,000 and they're on the balance sheet, you can mark that as an asset. Oh, there's $20,000 in revenue. That sounds nice, right? Mm-hmm. But if it causes you a $250,000 liability later, because somebody does something fucked up, says something fucked up, or they're just annoying and you don't want to be around them. Did you want the $20,000? And clearly not.
In poker, we call that ROI. I'm a big poker player, and in poker we call that ROI, return on investment. Right?
Yeah. So I would stress that to you folks as well, and I have for years. But you really don't want the wrong money, and there's. I'll word this the right way. There's some business endeavors right now where there's some people offering money to athletes for things that I think the athletes don't really understand.
I'll give you an example of one in particular. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Finishing that thought, I'm not going to say much about it, and you understand why. But I think there's some athletes taking money that they don't really understand what they're endorsing, and I think it's going to cause them a lot of reputational harm later.
Absolutely,
and that's really sad.
Absolutely, no question. I've been offered 1,000 crypto deals, right? Okay, and I do not even pretend to understand crypto beyond naming Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a couple others. And now as a result, the government is actually going after celebrities who have represented crypto companies because those crypto companies are scams or they've done something wrong. Mm-hmm. You got to really just do your research and work. Now, if you've seen my career, commercials I've done over the last couple of years, I'm very self-deprecating. I like to make fun of myself and have fun doing it. So I've done commercials for Manscaped, Blue Chew, which is like a Cialis product, whatever, but they're funny, right? They're funny. I'm not the one taking the Cialis and the Blue Chew in the commercial. The other guys are, but I come out and do my thing. And it's funny. Great paydays, fun, the whole bit. So pick and choose. It's like in poker when you're dealt a hand, you don't make an immediate decision. You sit back, you think about it. What does he have? What do I have? You play the player, you don't play the cards. And you want to understand everybody you're doing business with. When I say there's a lot of things in poker and life and fighting that all correlate and relate together. And one of the key things is when you're in a fight, you want to know your opponent, you want to know how he fights, you want to know everything you know. Before you walk in a room, or if you're about to make a deal or you're dealing with people, get the research, get to know them, understand what you're dealing with, right? And it's like being an elephant hunter. You have 2 shots. Don't shoot off both barrels at once. Say something for reserve. You got to just think it out. Take the time to think it out so you don't make a mistake. And do your research. Do your research. That's why we have the internet. There's nothing you can't research today. Man, woman, or beast. You can't.
A topic I'd be curious to have your perspective on is business partnerships. And there's not these people so much because they know my opinion, but there's a lot of people that are well-intentioned. They're smart clients that are on their way up and they want to go be somebody, and they still have this thought in their head about how do I get a great partner. And And what the question really is, how do I get somebody to do most of the work for me, and I'll do some of the work and kind of halfway carry my weight.
I have an answer for that.
And I tell them, why do you need a partner? I don't like to have partners for most things. I don't enjoy it at all.
In this day and age, I run my business, 2 corporations out of my home. My partner is actually my ex-girlfriend from 27 years ago, who I got married 4 years later, and I'm godfather to her children. I've helped raise, be the second dad to their kids because we all work together, we grew up together. But we do more business than most small to mid-sized corporations. I have had the 50,000 square foot offices. I've had the 150 employees. I've had the overhead where you're sitting there shaking in your boots. How am I going to pay the bills this month? Mm-hmm. I don't want to fire anybody, right? I'm done with all that personally, because now you can, what I call satellite out. You can find other people to help do different areas of your business. And as we all have heard this term, the secret of success is delegation. It is, but you as the owner, you as the individual, you need to know how to do every single thing in your business, right? Before you teach somebody else. And when you teach somebody else, teach them how to teach so they can teach somebody else. But proof by example, right? Think about it. You're going to tell me what to do. I'm working for you and you can't even do it. How am I going to respect you for that, right? But Derek's point about a partner, you don't need a partner unless you absolutely need a partner. And if you have a partner, they better be a great partner. Because if you have a bad partner, it's like a bad marriage, because it is a marriage. And you wind up getting a divorce. And you're both going to suffer.
I've seen so many situations, including a couple people in this room, that had the wrong partner in their life, and business partners I'm talking about at the moment, and many more of them had the wrong dating partner in their life, and they know those consequences as well. But the wrong business partner can cost you a decade of frustration or more, and it can set you back forever. That you'll be in litigation for years with the wrong person. You'll be scared to start a new business. You have more after they steal from you and screw you over in numerous ways. Some that you can't imagine right now. Then you can go to court for years, and you'll be scared to start a new business and et cetera, because you have conflicts about assets or investment. It's a nightmare. And if you don't really need a partner, I think it's wise. Do everything you can by yourself or outsource that, but maintain control,
Get outsourced staff. Also, let's say somebody is partner capable, right? Don't just roll the dice and bring them as a partner. There's other ways to do it too. You either do what we're saying, which is you delegate, you find other people, businesses that run it, however it works, like me with the licenses. I mean, I have 3 big multi-million-dollar businesses with over $100 million in sales predicted for the next year. My cologne, my energy drink, my moisturizing toiletry line, my nutritional line, all that. But I sided myself with a license and spokesperson deal and partial ownership with companies that have already done this and have proven themselves successful. So they have the marketing in-house, they have the formulation in-house, they have the attorneys, they have everything. Why do I do that? A, exactly what Derek's saying. B, less overhead for me. When I get $1 into my company, 98 cents of that dollar is pure profit. Not many companies can say that because of the overhead and the level at which I keep my company. But you could bring in somebody, they could work with you, you pay them, do whatever. Make them prove themselves over 6 to 12 months. Then maybe at a certain point, you realize, hey, this is a great person. I need them to run my business. They've proven themselves. At that point, you can make a decision to bring them as a partner, right? Last thing you want to do is give away part of your company before somebody's proven themselves or the formula's even made. It feels good, it sounds good, but you know what? I call it Kool-Aid talk. I want to see proof.
I like creating structures where people that work closely with me, I love a percentage of revenue goes to them. Or, or a percentage of
exactly,
profit goes
because
to them.
they're getting what they're worth. I missed that point. He's correct. You give them an incentive deal. I believe everybody should have an incentive, okay? In businesses, most companies don't do anything even simple as pat their employees on the back, right? Which sometimes is worth thousands of dollars. That employee, wow, he or she likes me. They appreciate me. I did a good job, right? That's what they want. They need to have that feeling. We all need it. I need it. I like when Dana White pats me on the back, okay? It makes me feel good. Sure, I want that gold Rolex in the mail, okay? But you know what? I'll take the pat on the back for now, whatever the case might be. It's very, very important. You want to create a team. Even if you have people that, like I have a team, even my licensees, right? They're still a team. I treat them all equally. We're all a team, And I'm not writing their paychecks. They're writing mine.
I love the licensing agreements for for anybody here that gets themselves into that type of situation. That's fantastic. And I get offered these deals. I think half of them are scams and bullshit, and half of them are probably legit. I'm not sure, honestly.
I probably think more of them are scams and bullshit.
That might be true. I get constantly, several times a week, maybe 10 or 12 a week on average. 10 or 12 a week is, I'll pay you $12,000 to post my bullshit on your social media.
Yeah.
I'll pay you, $3,000 per post to do this, or $15,000 to do that. Mm-hmm. And I never pay any attention to them because it's not the business I'm in.
I just trash them all.
Yeah, I don't. I read them for.
I'll read
not
them.
all of them, but I glance at them and I'm like, all right, another one of those. But it's not the business I'm in. I'm not in the business of endorsing other people's bullshit.
In this day and age of electronics and identity theft and phishing and all the stuff that goes on, you got to be really, really careful.
But if you guys build a brand big enough later, and if you think of the brand that he's built is phenomenal, that it's not just you're co-branded so deeply with UFC that fighters come and go, and Bruce Buffer is eternal. That
Thank you.
I halfway jokingly, but also halfway sincerely, when your name comes up when I'm with one of the fighters, I say, Bruce Buffer is a national treasure. Well, you kind of are, but I think you do that way.
My mom thinks so, and you think so. That's cool.
All right. Well, those two people like you, probably even more.
I'll take you too. That's good. My girlfriend, she's getting there. Yeah, we're getting there.
If you have the sort of branding that he does, or that recognition, I think licensing deals are great. And I tell some of the fighter guys that they ask me, where do I invest my money? I said, don't invest your money. Sit on the damn cash right now, because they don't know what to do with their money, and they don't have time to learn it right now.
Well, part of the problem is they don't know what to do with their money. And I've even mentioned the UFC, as I'm sure you would be great for too, is bring somebody like you and I in and have a seminar like Kobe Bryant did for them one time and teach them what to do with their money. They need direction. It's very, very important.
Some of the gym managers have asked me to do that, and I'm going to make time for it because I see it's an important thing for them.
Even if I wasn't paid, I'd want to make time for it because I love the fighters so much. I just want to see them hold on to their money and make as much money as possible,
Very bluntly, I don't want to be paid. But very bluntly, I put them in my courses for free. Several of them already are. I put them in my courses, and if they liked it, if they learn nothing, no obligation up front. At the end of the course, if they learn something valuable, I'd like them to make a video saying so.
That's
which is a
right
win-win
there.
situation.
Yeah, that's valuable right there.
That's a great endorsement from people that are well known. And it's extremely valuable to them. And I have several, I never say their names when they're in the course. You guys don't know, you've been going through my mentoring courses with a bunch of fighters and other athletes, and I don't even say their names in the program ever. I never put them on the spot, so it's going to be an awkward situation.
No, that's only right.
For
that's
them.
only right.
But some of them, it'd be best for them to not be investing in something. It'd be like a guy, I'll use my own example, So I'm about to get a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm a pretty good striker in some things. That's enough to be, that's enough to more than 99% of people. It's also enough that if I had to go fight a guy in my weight division at UFC, it's not going to work out as well as I'd like it to, So you
Understood.
Feel very confident with most any guy on the street, and also get your ass handed to you if you had the ignorance or arrogance to think that you're going to do that with the best guys in the world.
Just remember, you never know who you are till you've been punched in the face.
Good thing I had plenty of those experiences already.
Yeah, more than I can remember. Also, too, one thing I missed before, you've heard the term OPM?
Other people's
money. Okay? So you might think, to ask you for an investment, well, how much am I going to get? 25%, right? As an example. What if I don't invest? You're using my brand, whatever. Okay, 5, 10%. Okay, no money, no risk, no nothing. How much are you going to pay me? What's my guarantee? Make it recoupable against the royalties I'm going to receive. I love the product. I love to work with you. Let's make a deal. How much should it cost me? Nothing. In my position, I'm able to do that with a brand. Well, it's not always been that way. That's the way I built my brother Michael Buffer's brand. Let's get ready to rumble the whole bit. That's why I say that 98 cents in every dollar, give or take a couple pennies, is pure profit for my company. And my bottom line is paid for in the company is people that steal, let's get ready to rumble, and it's time, and use it for promotion. I've got an amazing attorney firm for 25 plus years now on contingency. And it's not like I get out of the car and go, my neck hurts, I'm going to sue you. It's not that. If they do something, I'm going to say, look, you promoted this product, which I never would have agreed to anyway. This is what I would have charged had we agreed to it. So you did it for 3 months. This is what you would have paid us. Pay us that. Don't do it anymore. Cease and desist. We're done. Or if I like it, I'll create a deal and make a deal with them, right? the revenue that comes in from the legal settlements pays for the bottom line of the company.
My attorney better be taking notes over here.
Okay. Well, I better make sure I'm careful with what I say.
That's what I encourage. Those endorsement deals like that. That's what all the fighters that come train with me. Inevitably, we're sitting around the house. We're training for 10 hours. They're hanging around my place for 30, 40 hours.
Yeah.
And they're asking me questions. And inevitably, it's business type stuff, which is fine. That's what they're there for. But I tell them that all the time. When somebody's asking you to put 25 grand, 50 grand into some business, how about no? How about just
just say
if
no.
they want you to be part of it, be the public figure, get some equity in the company, or at least get a royalty deal or some revenue split deal that you're getting a percentage of revenue, or you have some equity in their company if they don't have much money and they want you to be the public figure.
Absolutely true. Or depending on the money, I either want 51% of that company because I want to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that's fair too.
If I put money in a company, here's the other thing. I have and I don't have the time to invest in a company that I'm going to rely on somebody I know like this much to bring me a profitable check or pay me back in a year. I don't know what's going to go on. And I've been through too many of those situations. And yes, I have made mistakes. Remember the one thing, that the first time you do something and it doesn't go your way, do not look at it as a mistake. Look at it as a learning experience. If you do it again, then it's a mistake. Don't make mistakes, right? But don't beat yourself up. I mean, we all have a right to experience and learn. I'm 65 years old. I wake up every day wanting to learn something new. That's my whole attitude my entire life, and I think it's one of the reasons that has maintained my entrepreneurial spirit in the many, many companies I've been behind and run. I've done a lot of stuff besides going in the octagon. The octagon is actually my weekend Boy Scouts go to camp job. I'm a brander and a marketer first and foremost.
Let me turn over to them for some questions. What are you thinking about, Omar?
Do you guys have any thoughts or frameworks that could help someone young like me have an even longer time horizon when thinking through problems, thinking through investments, thinking of actions that I do? Because I feel that I already have a longer time horizon than most people my age, but I've really noticed that the longer out you think, the more ROI you get and the more success you get. So I want to try to get there.
I'm a stepper. So what I do is, like, a lot of people sit down and tell me if I'm answering your question. When I start something, like when I was younger, I thought, I want to make, got to remember I'm 65, okay? I was making 50 grand a year when I was 19 and moving up from there. So when I made 50 grand, which is like, what would 50 grand be like today? It's like $250,000 today, isn't it? 200,000?
Yeah, inflation adjusted, yeah.
I had the Porsche, I had the
By
whole
tomorrow,
bit.
it'll be 400,000.
Who knows? But I set realistic goals. I go, I want to make $1 million. Well, we all want to make $1 million. Did you make 100,000 yet? No. Well, make 100,000. Then your next step should be 150, 200. But at the same time, combined with the passion you have for what you're pursuing, you don't want to you want to set time limit. You got to know when, like I said, the BSC theory I gave you, you got to know when to take the Velcro off your ass and get up from the poker table because you're not getting the hands, right? As much and as passionate you are, you got to be realistic about yourself. So give yourself a time, a year. Set realistic goals. And once you hit it, then you go to the next one, okay? Even thinking 5 years ahead of where your business is going to be, personally, and Derek, please elaborate, I wouldn't be thinking past the year. I mean, we all know what we want to be. We want to be rich, we want to be successful, we want to be selling, we want our company to be known, we want to be happy. But you know what? Set yourself a realistic goal for the moment you're in and where you're at. What is your realistic goal? Not your Kool-Aid goal, what's your realistic goal? You'll make it. Step by step, you'll get there. I firmly believe that if you can dream and see yourself in a position, everybody fantasizes, everybody dreams, right? But only about 2% put it into action. And that's the people that make up the leaders and the top of the pyramid and the thing, and I don't mean pyramid scheme, but if you look at the fact, every family, every business is a pyramid. In a business, you've got your president, your CEOs, your vice presidents, your VPs, all the way down to your secretaries, the people that pack the boxes, the people that answer the phones. Well, granted, up top are the leaders, but this base is so important. It's just as important as the top, because if it's weak, it's all going to fall down, okay? So treat everybody equal, teach by example, set goals, help them set goals, and make the people that work with you feel like they're really working with you, okay? Pay them well, give them the paycheck, give them the incentives, I'm a big guy for insensitizing, right? I want people to have a carrot. But the funny thing about some people is carrots don't excite them. They just want to get their salary, right? They're just happy getting their weekly paycheck. Not everybody has an entrepreneurial mind. And that's where I'm telling you to understand the players. And those players are not just the people you're going to make a deal with. The players are the people that are playing on your team. So what makes them work? What's going to make Susan happy? What's going to make Bob happy? What's going to motivate them to double their production for my company in the next month, right? Just be positive. Be a positive role model to everybody around you in your sphere of influence. It'll rub off. The moment you get negative, you show weakness, that's going to rub off too, but not in the way that you want it to.
I think expanding on that, and I don't want to contradict.
Don't contradict.
Because I believe what he said about, where are you at right now? What's the next step? What's the next step? And I totally believe that, and I've lived my life that way. At the same time,
remember, you're a mentor and a coach to me too, so you explain it the way you see it.
You know me pretty well, and they know me even better. And I don't filter so much, so I'm not trying to be overly polite when I say this, but I think what you said is important. It's like if you want 100 million, but you haven't made 10 grand, maybe do that first. Maybe. So
Exactly.
I totally agree with that.
That's my point. Yeah.
It's not insincere for me to. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Speaking from my own experience, I think that I'm 43 right now, and I think I should have had bigger dreams earlier or bigger goals earlier. That from the childhood that I had, I didn't realize how much of that I could really do. Mm-hmm. And it seemed I didn't have the right role model. I didn't have the right mentor. I had a lot of negative role models that, so I learned things like, smoking crack's probably not a good path,
Yeah, I'd say that's good.
Habitual petty criminality, probably that doesn't lead to the outcomes that, would be best suited for me later. So I had a lot of negative role models. I had a great, deficit of, what I call a positive role model. Mm-hmm. I found myself at one time, maybe a poignant moment is I was, at age 18, I was, fresh out of jail, spent 90 days in jail when I was 17, 18 for a violence-related thing. I was at Walmart. I lied. I'm not proud of this, but I think it really makes a point. I lied on my Walmart application at age 18, saying that I was a high school graduate and that I had no criminal convictions. And both of those were true. Both of those were false. I was a high school dropout with, fresh out of jail.
Did you get the job?
I got my job.
Did you get caught for lying?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, look, I'm not a saint. I don't pretend to be a saint. I don't pretend to be more altruistic than I am. But I also value integrity, and I don't like to lie about things very much. Am I going to tell some more lies in the future? For sure I am. But I like to do, less is better. Less is better. Staying on point for a second. I got that job. I'm 18 years old. It's wintertime in Illinois. I'm unloading trucks and stocking shelves at Walmart. And I'm looking around, and there's people there that are doing this job with me that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Yeah. And I thought to myself, this was no one's plan. When they were 18, no one planned that they were going to be in their 50s unloading a ripped dog food pallet, a pallet of dog food with ripped bags and shit on it, or having an aquarium fall on your head and break, which I witnessed. That was no one's plan earlier in life. So I'm going to be a little long-winded about this, but I think it'll be valuable to you, Omar and others, is, in my comparative others at that time, what made me think about this, you said that you have a better attention span than other people your age.
Look, I have the time horizon that I think in is
fair. Time horizon. Well, how long is their time horizon? It's shit.
Yeah.
That's the exact measurement. It's shit. Their time horizon is shit.
Yeah, you don't want to overthink.
That's the period of time that they think of. Shit. So, the reason I'm bringing this up to you is, it's not useful. It might be useful for the next step to look at your current comparative others and say, well, the people around me are doing this, and if I want to do better, then I better do better. If I want better outcomes than them, then probably I'm going to have to do something extra or more, or be, more mindful of how I'm spending my hours away from this environment, so I can, be in a better environment in the future. And I looked around the people at Walmart, and I thought, well, if I can't outwork these people, then maybe this is where I belong. And I didn't like that idea. So then I started going to community college because I couldn't go to a real university. And I had the same thought there. And I was a little snotty at first. And I was 19. And I thought, I'm smarter than these people. I'm better than these people. I had these, youthful, rather arrogant thoughts. And I thought to myself, well, asshole, if that's true, then you should have no problem having straight A's here, right? If you're so much smarter, then there's no reason you should ever have a B compared to these people that you think you're so brilliant.
Good observation.
And I had a 3.83 when I graduated, so I got 5 A's and a B on average. Mostly A's. And then I get to go to I had an academic scholarship to go to a very good undergrad school, and I continued that. And it's mostly A's. And later I went to University of Chicago for grad school, which was the #1 ranked MBA program in our country at the time. And but even then, I looked around, and I thought, well, what do these people want to do? They want to go to McKinsey. They want to go to Goldman Sachs. You've heard me talk about this numerous times. And I haven't had a job since I was 19 at that time. And now I'm 30 or 31 or something, and I'm like, I'm not getting a job. The last thing I'm going to get is a job.
Right.
So, but I like the education. That education helped me make a lot of money in the stock market.
Sure.
Some of my professors there were multi-billionaires. 2 of my professors there were Nobel Prize winners. So you learn things from those people.
Absolutely.
And you also learn the limitations of what you could learn from those people. That, I have more money today than those Nobel Prize winners. I suspect you have more money than those Nobel Prize winners. Imagine you got a Nobel Prize in finance, and the announcer guy and whatever the hell I am have more money than you do. So,
Strange things happen in life. Yep.
so but there they are. So just be a little careful. It's fine to look at your comparative others and take the next step. I wish that I had. I didn't have enough confidence or enough audacity or stupidity or whatever it would have taken for me to have. Some of my current goals are much bigger than anything I could have imagined then. And I live in Frank Mir called it it's like a Batman resort. It's like something the Batman would have. I have this large, spacious penthouse that's full of marble and bronze titty statues, and everything's fabulous. I spent $3 million on gyms for to be able to lift weights, and training space for boxing, and training space for wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, and I spent $3 million on a gym. It's going to be part of the next. I'm losing some weight and I'm training a little bit. But I can now, so it's fine to be thinking. Just be careful who your comparative others are. Or if I think in fighting even. And I didn't like this for a few months, and now I'm having a shift in my head. And I didn't start training at MMA. I had plenty of fights when I was young, but I was never a trained fighter.
Right.
And there's this extreme limitation there, as you know. And when I'm training with a bunch of pro fighters, that Tito's over, Chuck Liddell's over, and 15 people that that are all the biggest name people. Almost every one of them is a former champion or current champion. Glover's coming over next week. Jake's coming over next week, and then Glover's the next week after that, and so on and so on. When they talk to me about fighting, their only comparative other is it's not even other pro fighters. It's not even people in the UFC. For these guys, their comparative other are like other champions. Like they're comparing themselves against the other best people in the world, of their generation or previous generations. And they're not being cocky. It's like they earned the right to do that because that's where their skill level is.
Absolutely.
And then when they talk to me, and in my head, I'm just like, bro, I'm like a chubby business guy in his 40s that's trying to do better,
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be a pro fighter. But that's the standard that they hold me to subconsciously. It's in their language. It's in their mannerisms. It's in their
DNA.
I feel it in their expectations of me that I'm supposed to perform like that,
Right.
And you know what, though? Over time, I'm starting to be like, God damn it, you're in this situation. You have an amazing opportunity that that I never dreamed of earlier in life, and almost nobody else would either. And I'm like, why don't you start holding yourself to a higher and higher and higher standard?
Sure.
And I have. And you made a comment earlier that about my weight. I'm down. I lost 30 pounds of fat.
Yeah, it's obvious.
I gained 11 pounds of muscle, and and my fighting skill set's a lot better too. My cardio is a lot better too, and so I being around those people has forced me to change my perception. I'm not going to be a UFC champion. I'm 43 years old.
No, you have a right to fulfill that one. I mean, I've been an athlete my whole life, and I got to say, being around the greatest athletes in the world, greatest conditioned athletes in the world for 26 years has definitely helped me in this later stage of my life. I'm still got my six-pack, still everything, all natural. I don't do any crap. Eat right, be right, train right, whole bit.
So just be mindful of that you put yourself in an environment. It wasn't a goal of mine to think that way. I didn't make any conscious effort to be thinking that way. when I was around other guys that are world champions and kind of forcing that identity on me, I was resistant. Like bro, I don't have the same goals that you do. I'm not trying to be the baddest heavyweight, like the baddest dude in the world, And over time, and that's not a realistic goal. I'm not telling you that I'm going to be a pro fighter. I have no interest in being a pro fighter, but that also doesn't prohibit me from when I have guys like that are training with me. And I close that gap a little bit every week and close that gap a little bit every week. I'm getting a lot better very quickly.
Yeah, but also the motivation that you're giving yourself. I mean, you're training with top fighters. You have a right to feel and dream that you could step in, if you wanted to. And that's what you're training for. And this gets back down, surround yourself with the best people. You'll become better, right? If you surround yourself with people that aren't as knowledgeable or as motivated or as passionate about you and they're in your team and they're working with you, that's not going to motivate you as an owner and an entrepreneur, right? You want to be challenged. I'm suggesting you be challenged. It makes you better.
Fine. Tell Dana if you need somebody to fill in at 265. I could skip a couple meals and I'll fill in.
You may call me. Maybe I'll do it.
Tim.
First of all, guys, thank you for the talk. I think it was really interesting to hear your thoughts about the business part. Till 2020, as you know, I studied medicine and I became a doctor then. And before that, my whole life, my plan was actually to work in a hospital after I finished studying. Then you work for like 9 years before you can have your own company. And then luckily the pandemic happened and the stock market crashed. And you helped me to make so much money that the only person in a hospital that actually currently makes more money than I do is the director. I got so much money in dividends that what I want to say by that, I'm not sure, at least not currently, if the path that I actually wanted to pursue, like before the stock market crash, to have my own business, if that currently makes sense. Because if I would start to work now, I wouldn't be in this room now. They would never give me like times off to go to Las Vegas. And currently, I think there's so much value in just really commit to like your online programs, but as well, of course, the live events. And I would never be able to come here, or let me say, my plan is at least for the next couple of months to come to as many live events as possible, and that would not be possible if I would start to work in a hospital. So my focus obviously is full-time on the stock market, and I'm 100% sure if I would have worked, there were some situations, for example, when the war started, where we talked at that day, made some decisions, sold some stocks, bought some other. That would not be possible if I would start to work. So what would you recommend to me in my situation right now, what I should do? Because to a certain degree, I really feel bad when I hear people talking about, I have my own business and it's so awesome, I'm my own boss and I'm crushing it. On the other side, I know that,
I think that I'm really happy you asked that while Bruce is here too, because I've had the most weird and non-traditional life, and I think he's going to say a lot of similar things. Honestly, that I didn't know what I was going to do. I quit a job at 19 because I just thought to myself, if I work this hard on my own projects, would I make a little bit more money or a lot more money 2 or 3 years later? And that's all the information that I had. Mm-hmm. And that really sucked for a while, that I knew it was going to suck for a couple years. And then it turned out, a hell of a lot better later. And you don't have time to be a doctor. You're too smart about business now that, that doesn't mean that your education in medicine is not a bad thing. Like that's a great asset. And use that to evaluate, what's going on in the stock market? What are the entrepreneurial opportunities available to you, et cetera, et cetera. And, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to, if you did something in the short term in a hospital or in the medical profession, okay. But the problem with that is you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of other doctors. And doctors are a group of people. And, if I had a medical emergency, I'd like to go find a doctor. And I have a lot of respect for their expertise there. But they don't tend to know much about other things outside of that window of expertise. And there are a group of people that oftentimes tend to think they know an extraordinary amount of information outside of their expertise, which is almost comedic. So I don't know that you spend your day with those people. Nothing against them. These are people with 130 IQ on average that are more motivated. Most of them sincerely help people, etc. So I have a lot of respect for the profession. But given your circumstance, I just don't know that I don't know what's the best use of your time to be surrounded by doctors versus other business people.
May I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. May I ask you a couple questions? Derek, did I interrupt you?
You're fine.
Stock market, doctor, where you're more passionate?
I like both, but currently the stock market is so fucking awesome. So
You're a qualified doctor? You got the sheepskin on the wall, right? It pays you well. Is the stock market, are you making enough money in the stock market to pay your bills, put money away to where you don't need to have the income from the doctor while you build that business?
way more as being invested in the stock market.
And my immediate answer to you would be is to, as a doctor, you can go back to work. You can get another job in 2 years. You can go back as a doctor, right? Take a break. Put it over here. Set a goal, year, 2 years, build your stock market business, right? Follow what you're passionate about. In economics, we have that term, the opportunity cost of time. The opportunity cost of time for you are not effective because you're working as a doctor. And I commend you, okay, that you're a doctor. I'm serious. I commend you. But for you and your question, take a break. You can always be a doctor, whether you have to retest or whatever, and focus on your entrepreneurial spirit and the business you're in that's making you money and build it. And you may never step back in and put on a swab. What do they call those things again? You know, what do they call those? Swabs? What is it? What's the outfit called? Scrub. You won't put on a scrub again.
Yeah, it's like, probably I have like an internal conflict in terms of like, what do other people think of me that I do not pursue the dream?
Up. Take your ego out of it. All right? Lego your ego. Lego your ego. Okay? Ego can cause, there's two types of egos. There's constructive ego and there's conceited ego. And I can name people to fulfill that conceited ego image we all know, and I'm not going to do it. Constructive ego helps you make a constructive decision. You got to remember, you're number one. You got to make yourself happy and love yourself before you can share love and make anybody else happy. So you got to follow your star, right? Yes, some people will be disappointed. Yes, it'll be it, but you're not living your life for other people except your family, your loved ones, and everywhere. You're living for them. And if they really are your friends and if they really are good people, they're going to want the best for you. And if they don't, then you don't want them as friends anyway.
I had a chat earlier. You sat in on it. I had Kelvin Gastelum was here earlier, and we did an interview together. And I just had a couple of clients that I allowed to sit in. And Kelvin and I were talking about this. Like, I've kind of come to a conclusion in recent months, the past year, of like, it's not useful to pay attention to critics or everybody wants to offer their opinion about something on social media.
What do they say? Opinions are like a-holes. Everybody's got one. Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that and I was never a person, and I doubt that you are. I'm sure you read a couple of those comments once in a while. And I don't think it hurts my feelings. I don't think it hurts your feelings.
Yeah,
And it doesn't
sticks
hurt
and
my
stones.
feelings.
You got to have a thick skin.
But I thought, why would you care about anybody's opinion? Like, would I pay for this person's advice? Is this a person who I would hire as a consultant or a professional in some way that would help me with something? And if I wouldn't be willing to pay for their opinion, why should I give a shit about their free opinion?
Absolutely. And also remember another thing. People love you on the way up. Then they can't wait to tear you down. Okay?
It doesn't matter what somebody else's opinion is of your life. You'll be dead soon enough. Probably spend the time doing what you'd like to do. I think you and I know each other for a lot of years. And I just think you have bigger opportunities over time that, and to Bruce's point, if I'm wrong, if you misjudge your entrepreneurial or other business prowess, if I misjudge that, if we're both too stupid to see that, hey, in a couple of years, you're still a doctor.
And let me add
but I
one.
don't think that's true. I think you'll do very well.
Let me add one more thing. Now, this is for everybody in the room. I personally am a spiritual person. I don't belong to any organized religion. When I say, may God bless you, I mean whoever your God is, with all respect, I hope they bless you, okay? But remember one thing, you're God. And what I mean by that is G-O-D, governor of my own destiny. I am God. No matter what power I get from my God, ultimately, you're the one that makes the final decision. You're the one that's responsible for that decision. You are your God. So stand up, believe in yourself, and make the right decision. Live by it, learn by it, lose by it, win by it, whatever it is. Take responsibility. Don't blame other people. Look in the mirror, make your decision, be proud of yourself, and go forward and make it happen.
Something I've said to them for years, you're the CEO of your own life, whether you want to be or not.
Exactly the same thing. Yep.
Whether you want to be or not. People that don't want to take that responsibility, they're still responsible for the outcome. It'll just be a lesser
They'll be your
outcome.
employees working for you.
Yeah.
With all respect, again, remember, I respect everybody.
What do you think of David?
I'm building a new business. I'm in IT, and I always really hated to be in IT. That's what my parents actually pushed me for. And I'm a guy who wants to be very good, so I did something that I didn't like, but became very, very good at it. But now, when I was 37, I got a real big crisis, and I tried to solve that, especially for my kids, because I want to be a good mentor to them. So now I'm switching to TV production, which is really where my heart is. Also because I like the business, because it's relationships based, and I'm apparently a storyteller. I'm 46 now, with something that came up very late. And for me, it's very hard to find the right mentor. So I love having a mentor like Derek, and people like you understand. So that helps me build my life very well. But specific mentors in TV production is very hard for me to find, because you find a lot of courses and everybody knows apparently their shit, so to speak, but they don't. So I had TV producer, for instance, from Belgium, says, okay, I'm going to help you with your show, but I recognize, because I'm under the mentorship of Derek, you start to create a filter of what is nonsense and what starts to become reality. And I hear so much nonsense. So I'm trying to find the right people and really connect with them.
Welcome to the world of being a CEO, because finding the right person is always the task that's the hardest to do. And you may have to go through 10 to find one that's even learnable, right? We all have somebody comes in, they seem great, and of course we want them to be the best. Don't try to change and make people what they're not. Understand your player. I'll say it again, understand your player, right? And if you see that they're not going to be who you want to mold them into, then don't waste another 3 months. Put them in another position or let them go. I don't mean to be so harsh, guys, but this is life. This is your money, your life, okay? They'll find something else. Treat them with respect. You did your job. Either they're right for you or they're not. But listen, I know what it's like to have somebody come in, oh, they're great, they're this, they look great, everything. And the moment you see that they're not adaptable, give them a chance, communicate, right? And everybody, I hope you write all your goals down. Nothing's going to happen unless you write it down. You talk to somebody, make sure they write it down. If you don't write things down that you're going to get done, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to get done. Maybe some will, but not all will, okay? You just got to make a decision. Sometimes they're harsh decisions, but we're all searching for the perfect employee, the perfect manager. It's a constant effort. And then there's turnover, and you got to do it again. Just be prepared for it. Especially if you're hiring salespeople. They're coming and going like crazy. And women will be probably the most loyal employees you will ever have. They will stay with you. Men have a tendency to always want to look to open up their own business. I've even had a situation where I had a telemarketing company with 50 people. I walked in one day, there were only 5 people working for me. What happened to the manager? What happened to whatever? He had a 1-month plan. He opened up an office like one city away. Everybody went to work for him. I was young, I went down, I went in the place, I was going to beat the crap out of him in front of everybody. But I stopped when I got inside his office, realizing I was going to cause more problems for myself. But I had to make myself known that I wasn't happy. I don't want you to do that. I'm just kind of telling you a story. Would I do that today? No. I did it then. I'd have somebody else do it. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking, guys. Just joking. I'm Italian, but I'm not that far.
In the context that you're working, or the context that you're interested in, is one of the most sinfully low integrity industries in the entire world ever.
Oh, film production?
Yeah, it's one step away from politics.
I work in Hollywood. I'm in movies and all that stuff. I live at the beach. I stay as far away from that bullshit thing, whatever. I want to say something earlier. I just said the word BS. Honesty to me is very important, right? Now, as a salesperson, I will embellish, but I will not lie, okay? I don't want to sit around and try and figure out the lies. I don't lie to my girlfriends. I don't lie to my friends. Now, if you play poker with me, I'm going to lie through my teeth, and I'm going to take every one of your chips, all right? But not in real life, right? You don't want to wake up and say something you forgot you said, and they get caught in a lie, and then your integrity goes down the tubes. That's all I want to say about that.
In movie production, you're just in for a tough scene there that you're going to find. I think the only thing that's higher percentage of scumbag, low integrity people is maybe politics, and secondly, Hollywood type stuff. I know forever, guys. Since 15 plus years, I've been around Hollywood people. Back in the day, I was going to the Playboy Mansion all the time. I used to love to go to LA. I went to the Playboy Mansion.
I lived that lifestyle in the 70s and 80s.
I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
I had a great time. But there's a reason that I'm not friends with most of those people years later. There's other people during that same time in my life that I met, we're still friends 15 years later. Very few of them are Hollywood. Some of them are famous athletes. Some of those are other people you know for different reasons. I don't like people that maybe they say something to me privately, but then they go say whatever is trendy or popular that week on television, or is an activist of some kind. I just want to be around people like that.
I grew up in Malibu when I was 15. I think I mentioned that earlier. And I would shop beside some of the most famous people you can imagine. And I had a lot of friends, the Sheen kids, Pens, the whole bit. And, all cool guys. But my dad always told me, and he was a writer, screenwriter, and book writer after running Fortune 500 companies. Never had a high school education and wound up running vice president of Fortune 500 companies in New York, and that's why I moved to California. That's where I got a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit. Don't get caught up in the actor's private life. Enjoy the roles. I'll tell you, the coolest actor, the most down-to-earth real actor I ever met in my life was a good friend of mine the last 6 years of his life, was an actor named Steve McQueen. If you ever heard of an actor named Steve McQueen. Mr. Cool. So down-to-earth, it was crazy. He used to surf every day in front of his house. But I'm not caught up in Hollywood. They get paid to act, okay?
My first job ever is a nurse. And then I figured that, I'm here, let me just do it. And then I didn't really follow the things that I like, because I figured that money is what matters first. And then I've come to the conclusion recently that maybe I should do the things that I like.
Yep.
And then because I tried doing the logical thing first, and then after all of it, I'm not happy, and then I don't think it's sustainable. So I realized that humans are emotional first before logical. So my question to both of you is, how important is doing what you love? And when you say what you love, does it mean that you like doing it, or is it meaningful to you? Because
I'm so strongly opinionated about this, and Bruce may have a very different opinion, and that's fine. But this skyscraper didn't get built with people's I don't want emotional engineers building my skyscraper.
Yeah.
I don't want emotional engineers building my jet. I don't want my lawyer to be emotional. Whatever happens in his life, I hope his personal life is fantastic. But if it's really a pile of shit, I still want him to pull it together and bring his prefrontal cortex into play and get some shit done for me today. I don't care what else happened. I hope it's going well, but even if it's going terrible, I want him to pull it together and get my shit done on schedule. You want a heart surgeon that's a really nice guy?
No.
Or you want a surgeon? So I don't want any of that shit. And I really thought to myself, I don't give a shit about my short-term emotions. My short-term emotions would never play a role over my long-term goals. My long-term goals are always the most important thing.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree
My
with everything
long-term
you just
goals are
said.
always the most important thing. And everybody today, they want to talk about the whole social media thing is like, just your emotions, be happy. How about work your ass off while you're in your 20s or 30s and be happy for the rest of your life? Because the version where people tell you you're just going to be, you just do whatever, do it, your passion, be happy. Well, all right, but you're still going to be unloading a truck at Walmart in your 50s.
But remember, when I said emotion, do what you're happy, I agree with everything you just said. But you got to remember, like I said earlier, there's a point when you're passionate about something and it's what you dream of. But if it's not working, it's time to get up and find another game, right? And once you do achieve something that when I say passionate, I mean the want to get up and go to work. When you're passionate about something, or you really believe and you love your work, you're not working, you're waking up and living a lifestyle. And there's a difference. And one is more enjoyable than the other, and it helps you deal with all the negatives you're going to come up against, and the things that are going to happen that are not positive. It's going to help you fight those fights. But you got to be realistic with yourself. It's either working or it's not. And if it's not, it's time to find another profession.
Favor, when you're in one of these situations where you're making a decision, just favor what's going to get you the best outcome in the long term. And there's many days, even still, and I don't have to do this shit anymore, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of days still. I wake up, maybe I slept 5 hours, sometimes only 3 hours, and frankly, because I'm solving some of their problems,
right,
which is questionable if I should even do that, and which I don't mean to be too fucked up, but it's a sincere thought. So, and then, hey, it's time for boxing training. Oh, you went to sleep at 9 in the morning because you're up working on the stock market, responding to emails overseas. Your alarm clock's gone off. It's noon. It's time for boxing training. time to get up, and you got to be in the gym at 1. And I created accountability mechanisms where I have world champions staying at my place. So I wake up and they're in the living room waiting for me, and like at 1 o'clock they're going to be sitting in the chair in the living room waiting for me. I got to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit what I feel like. Like I feel, what my emotional brain says is like, hey, bro, you're in your 40s, you're all bruised up, you got aches and pains, you got plenty of excuses that sound really good, and I'd like to take a nap right now. What I feel like doing is going back to sleep. But then I also remind myself, like, well, the success gods don't care what I feel like. The money gods don't care what I feel like. So then I go do the thing that I'm supposed to do. What I'm passionate about is, I'm 43, and I've got, I don't know how many rooms. I have several penthouses in this building at the moment. Like I'm really, what's really passionate is I grew up poor with no father and a mother that none of you would wish for. And now I can do pretty much whatever I want. And I don't mean that I never take that for granted. Every day I'm thankful to be around the people that I'm around. Every day I think to myself, what can I do to contribute? What can I do to help?
Pay it
Not because
forward.
I'm such a nice guy.
Pay it forward.
Not because I'm such a nice guy. But I think, what could I do to contribute to Bruce's life today, that he's thoughtful enough to show up and have an amazing introduction like he did and spend a bit of time chatting with us? What can I do to help your lives? So I like to make myself useful to others,
I do too, and I'll give you a little thing with me. How many of you are you UFC fans? Do you watch UFC? Okay, so every night I walk out there, and if you see the way I work, I'm an animal out there, and nobody announces the way I do it. I don't rehearse. I don't anything. I go out. I feel the energy of the crowd. I don't know what I'm going to do till I do it, and I just get it done, and I have a great time doing it. But every night, like Saturday night when I walk out in the octagon, and I've been doing this 26 and a half years now, every show is like an audition for me. I have to prove, even now, that I deserve this job. I want to prove it to Dana, to the fans, to the fighters, to my mom, my girl, everything. And myself, that I deserve this job. And the moment my passion wanes for what I'm doing, because I love what I'm doing so much, and I'm just going to do it for a paycheck, and I'm going to hear I'm retiring. I'm done. I'm good for another 5 or 10 years, but you'll hear I'm just done. I'm not going to go there just for a seat to the fights and a paycheck.
You've said that to me before, and I thought there's a phenomenal thought that I had, not for 26 years, but I have in different areas. But I had so much respect for that, because I think about that if I ask these people, hey, I'm going to do an event in Vegas, I got to make sure they go home and make money.
Yes.
I got to make sure they go home and have like a measurable, pragmatic outcome.
Yes.
So they're going to go get shit done.
And if you don't, and you haven't for a while, then you got to make a decision. If you are, then you realize what a fantastic mentor and coach he is. You stay with him to continue the process. I mean, if I was in your position and Derek put me on the road to wealth, and I'm doing it and I'm getting there and it's happening, I'm not going to leave him. You talk about having a partner, right? Even though you're paying, you still got to pay that partner, right? This guy got you there. And you might think, okay, I can do this all myself. And maybe, yes, you probably can. But we all need that help, that motivation, that pillar behind us, which he is. And that's why if you're at that point in your business, you got there because of him. But remember, you got there because of yourself, okay? But he was a vital aspect of that. Don't get rid of your soldiers. Don't get rid of what makes you win the war. You stay with the people that are with you, and you stick with the success formula, and you stay consistent, right? Consistent. It's key.
Something I think you could speak to that is rattled around in my head a lot, and I think is a phenomenal, it's an interesting phenomenon in the world, is what I meant to say, is, I've had the joy of chatting with several of the coaches of, Mike Brown or Henry Hooft, or Henry's become a close personal friend.
Yeah, he's
Mike and I text back and forth, and, some of these people, Joanna wrote me today. Joanna's a 6-time UFC champion, 5-time kickboxing champion before that. She's still got a coach. Mike Brown is still her coach. She loves Mike Brown. Mike Brown loves her.
Yeah.
And and all of these people that were the best, Kamaru Usman, still got a coach. 6-time champion, still got a coach. And I've thought about that many times of like, I'm grateful that I have, new coaches in my life in terms of MMA stuff, that I'm learning new business things again.
Yeah.
I'm relearning new business things, because you have to, start with your day one process, and and go through the motions. I'm
You're
like,
never
oh,
too old to learn.
Yeah.
You're never too old to learn. I wake up every day, like I said earlier, I wake up every day to learn something new.
You introduced how many champions over the
Oh my God, I can't even count. I
1,000?
forgot more than I can remember. Yeah.
Hundreds of times you've been
Hundreds.
there. There's only 90-something UFC champions ever. There's about 90 ever, but some of them repetitively,
Yes.
So, hundreds of times he's announced a champion at a UFC event. Do you ever see one that didn't have a coach in their corner? Had nobody in their corner?
No. No.
Gee,
I
how
mean, in some of the
long that
smaller
is.
shows, when guys didn't have a lot of money, they'd walk in, with their girlfriend holding their towel. That's about it. Which Mike Perry used to be like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so maybe Mike Perry might fall under that.
No comment. Anybody who knows who Mike Perry is, look him up. I wish him well, but he's an
Not a role
interesting-
model.
Yeah,
Not a role model.
well said. So I didn't want to say anything
That's the easiest way to say it.
unkind about the man.
I even think that Conor McGregor, who I thought was going to be one of the greatest role models in the history of sports, but to me, he blew it. But he still is a role model in many ways, but the way he acted, he affected his brand. And even though he's made tremendous amounts of money and will continue to, and I like Conor a lot, but again, be a role model to your sphere of influence. I'm real big on that. Fighters is not just what they do inside the octagon, it's how they handle themselves outside the octagon. That to me is a true all-around role model, like Randy Couture, one of the greatest role models in the history of the UFC. So, Conor, I love you. I'm not trying to say anything bad, even though I'm going to make my bourbon more successful than yours because I'm going to do it the proper way.
I seen the play on words there. If nobody else caught it, I
like
caught
playing
it.
with them.
I like to ask something about brand that you mentioned, because both of you built really great brands, and I'm in the process currently of rebranding myself. I used to be a weight loss coach, and now I'm studying a lot and trying to help people with more serious health problems, basically. And I'm struggling a bit with rebranding myself, and I'd like to get both of your takes on.
My first question to you, pardon me for cutting you short. You have a successful weight loss business?
Yep.
The name of it is what?
It's my own name, so Jasper
is it?
Alblas.
Say it for me.
It's Dutch, Jasper Alblas.
Say it again?
Jasper Alblas.
Okay. So that's a successful brand that you've created a pipeline of distribution with, right?
Yep.
So why can't you use the same name, expand it, and build the other stuff? Why build another brand when you spend all this time building this brand and just revamp it or tweak it to where your pipeline of distribution, your people that are with you, who could be many of your new customers for your new endeavor, right? You don't want to take it over here and have to reintroduce to them. You want to load the pipeline.
Definitely, totally agree. The thing is, I'm gonna move the price point up a notch from like say 70 euros like for a set of books to like a couple of thousands of euros for a.
You're selling a different product. You have a right to price it, but don't price yourself out of the market. Don't price yourself out of the market. You want to get people in. A lot of times in business, we call those lost leaders. Not that I want you to sell something for nothing, but make sure you're pricing correctly. Don't sell it for $2,000. Sell it for $1,999. Not $2,000. That $1 difference, you'll get more sales. Like $99.95 versus $100 is $99.95. No, it's $105. No, I'm not going to spend $100. $99.95. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is so pervasive. I'll answer your question too, Jasper. That $9.97, $99.95, that's so pervasive that I recently released a program, $24.97, but we discounted it to $1,000 during the launch time. And I didn't call it $9.97, and I did that intentionally. But there's, as you
You were
would
playing
imagine-
off the,
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's such a common thing. I said, if you don't believe your future's, if your future's not worth investing $1,000, I trust your judgment. Don't buy it. Don't come.
buy it. Exactly.
But it's not $9.97. It's $1,000. If you don't think your future's worth investing $1,000 in, I trust your judgment. Don't come.
When you're talking to people and you're selling people, I always tell people, don't sell people, tell people.
Yeah.
Let your product sell themselves. Let your presentation sell itself. Let the person sell themselves. Don't come across like a slick-oiled, shoe polish salesman. Come across like with integrity and everything else with a great product. Life is funny. You can have a product that looks like a piece of coal, and you got a diamond over here in another product. You can market this so it looks like a diamond and everybody buys it. But if you don't market this diamond correctly, nobody's going to buy it. There's a lot more involved, and marketing is key. We're talking about branding. The next step is marketing. If you don't market whatever your product is, and whether it's yourself or whether it's a physical product or endeavor or venture, you're not going to get the response. So I used to break down companies pre-COVID, and when I did my motivational speeches, and I wanted to hear everything about their business, because to me, all business is the same. It's just the product that's different. And I apply the same principles of business to every business that I'm involved in. I've had to adapt, as we all had to, because we live in the world of social media, which has a lot of positivity and a lot of negativity to it. But whenever I make a deal now, they want to know that I've got 3 million plus followers and all this kind of stuff, so that I have a dedicated market. It's very important, right? And also in branding too. Here's another thing people really screw up on. The name of your company is name of your company. That should also be your website. That should also be on your business card. Everything should be the same, not ABC, EBF, DVD, right? .com. No, people are like cattle. Don't expect them to find you. They have to be prodded. And you want to make it simple. Everybody's coming up with all these new wheels and all these things. And I'm sure a lot of what Derek teaches you, it's like fighting. I mean, if you told me I could just throw a jab across, a roundhouse, and a front kick, I'm going to win that fight. Give me a spinning elbow, okay? But, it's simple moves win in business. Simple moves win in fights. You just have to know when to be offensive and when to be defensive. And that's why I say poker, fighting, and life are very relative to each other. In poker, you come to a decision. You put all your chips in to put your opponent to a decision. In fighting, you go in to knock them out. You're either going to be knocked out or get knocked out. Same thing applies to business, right? Simple theories. Whether keep it simple, Susan, or keep it simple, Sam.
Keep it simple, stupid is the one that I heard
There you
the
go.
most.
Okay, you said it. I didn't.
Buffer set me up there. You see that? I like what he said about expanding the brand. That it doesn't mean you should throw away the current brand. Just expand that you're serving a broader market now.
How many years have you spent building your brand?
About 10 years.
Oh, come on. You want to start all over again?
No, definitely not.
This is a smart guy. He's got a master's degree. He's a smart guy. He could go work in a real corporation, get a couple $100,000 if he wanted a job. But he's got a real business. He's making good money. Things are good.
Then nourish it. Don't give. Another thing too. Like people are, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Okay, you just told me you're going to start 2 or 3 different businesses, which means you're going to do them all half-ass. You've already concentrated on one. You've built it. Now it's time. It's running itself, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know you have to oversee certain. I understand that, but then it gives you the freedom to do the other.
No, the good thing that I got from if you just brand it as a different product, kind of like that thing changed in my mind, and I can see that happening under the same brand for sure.
Well, it's still the health wellness industry, right?
Definitely.
That's not a new product to me. I'm coming out with the finest cologne in 40 countries in 5 weeks. It's amazing, and we've already got pre-sales of like $30-40 million, right? What am I doing? I've got moisturizer, face wash, body wash, everything lined up to load that pipeline. All quality products. Am I coming out with them all at once? No. Load the pipeline, load the pipeline, load the pipeline.
A couple more, and we're going to have to wrap up here. Omar, you already been there. Imran?
The question I have for both of you is, who would you say have been your most inspiring coaches that have helped you out, and why?
I'll answer first. My most inspiring coach was, at a young age, was my father. I mentioned him earlier. I would walk in a room at 6. My dad was in the Marines for 13 years, World War II, Korea, drill sergeant, hand-to-hand combat instructor, the whole bit, did everything. A voice that would scare the Pope, right? And I would walk in a room at 6 and go, "Hi, Dad. Son, project your voice, shoulders back, chest out. Let them know you're in the room," right? He had this amazing charisma about him. And then we went broke as a family. When we moved to Malibu, he quit his Fortune 500 job to write books and screenplays, which was his passion. He had his first book published within a year. But we went broke. But we were in Malibu. We were middle class. The rich people lived at the beach. We had $575 a month rent, right? My mom gave me $75 to go on a ski trip 3 weeks before, which paid for everything, gas, everything, you name it. 3 weeks later, I wake up at 1 a.m. and I hear them in the living room talking about how they can't pay the $575 rent. And she told me not to tell Dad that she gave me the $75. I went back to my room and cried, and I swore to God I would never, ever borrow money from my parents again. I will make enough money to take care of my parents. I had a lot, and we collected weapons, antique weaponry. We go to gun shows, and we'd sell books for $20, make $75, and my dad would take us out to dinner, to the point where he created a $500,000 plus a year collecting business out of that, and we started to live very, very well. But I went through that with him, and I worked those gun shows with him, and he taught me a lot. My dad was my original mentor. And then everybody I've worked with, bad partners and good situations, again, we get back to life's experiences, you know? And that's where a mentor like Derek comes in, a coach, because the beautiful thing about a coach and a mentor, and what I try to project to the people I work with and consult, is that, again, we get back to the opportunities, the cost of time. His coaching and mentorism can save you years of mistakes and work that you don't need to be done, so you can learn how to do it shorter, right? That's what a good coach, whether you're a fighter, a baseball player, or football player or not, is all about. And that's why he's valuable. And I'm sure if we asked around the room, many of you raise your hand and will contest to the fact that he is valuable. And that's why you're here. So you learn from the people around you. It's like, I don't mean to get too wordy, but when you start a business, anything, we live in the word of the internet. You can look up anything. Look at the top 3 most successful examples of that business or that person you want to be. And why are they successful? What are they doing? Now, I'm not saying copy, because then you're a copycat and you're not going to be recognized for your own distinct style. I could have copied Michael Buff from my brother, and I would have hated that. I wanted to create my own style, or I was going to quit within 3 years. That was my original goal, right? You learn from them, juxtapose it all, create your own style, find out what works, but learn about the success formulas of those people. And I did a lot of that. You know, but I owned my first corporation when I was 19, so I didn't finish college. I stopped going to college. I said, I'm going to take 2 years and see if I can learn in the streets and make money. And I never went back to college, although I'm not telling you not to go to college. College is great. But you don't need college to be successful. So I learned in the streets. I learned from what we call reps and experience. It's the best teaching aid there is. I hope I answered your question.
No, thank you.
But also when I'm with Derek, right? Okay, I learn from people like him. Remember what I said? I'm looking to learn something new every single day. So I never close my mind. I'm a Taurus. I'm supposed to be stubborn, and I am. But just like on my podcast, everything else, if you can tell me why I'm wrong or why I should have a change of opinion, I'll be the first one to go over to your side. I have no problem with that.
Derek is, I would disagree with you, but in a polite manner, I don't think he saves years. I think Derek saves decades. There's so much learning that's there that, like, I don't even have to think. It's like I feel light years beyond my competition, and I feel way more ready than I ever have before.
And that's the confidence that a great mentor and a coach will give you. Just like that football player stepping out on the field to play the playoff game, his coach gave him to get him to that playoff game, right?
Right.
To answer your question, and that's very thoughtful, and this guy is fantastic, by the way. He's a rice and almond baron. He has a very large farm in California.
Very cool.
Very large.
What kind of farm?
Rice and almonds.
Oh, you're up in San Mateo?
No, Chico.
Chico? Oh, cool.
Also,
I live at the beach in Playa del Rey in LA. Yeah, south of you.
also a law degree from a fancy school, so he's a very educated guy, and he's managing a lot of things. He's a very smart person. When you asked that question, my brain was like, I wanted to answer the question, and I'm searching for the answer, and I think Bruce sensed that and went first. And my biggest problem, I didn't have a good mentor for a long time. I think I was really 30 before I had a great mentor, and it set me back, and I feel really frustrated about that. And I had a lot of shit mentors, and a lot of, as I said, I call it a negative role model of things that you're like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that, or I'm definitely not going to do that. But, I had little sound bites or little pieces sporadically from, maybe the head of the entrepreneurship department at my, undergrad university, or, a few people that are around that were, small business owners that I was around, in my 20s. But I knew that was my biggest problem. And I really spent, and you've heard me say this for years, I really spent a lot of my early life trying to earn a better spot in the world, that when you'd meet somebody that you respected or somebody that you wanted their guidance or mentorship, that you were doing well enough that they could take a moment to pay attention to you, and then you'd actually do the damn thing they told you to do, because a lot of people don't, So I always made sure if there was somebody that I looked up to that, I know that guy knows some things that I don't know, and I'd love to, hire them or make myself useful to them in some way that they'd look out for me a little bit or point me in the right direction. I always wanted to make sure that I actually followed that advice. If they told me to read a book, I'd go read the book. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed. I used to do public talks everywhere, 60 countries. And somebody come up to me and say, oh, hey, Derek, what do you think about this or that? And you take too much time out of your life to tell them. And they come see you, 8 months later or 2 years later when you're in that same city, and they'd ask you the same type of thing. I said, what, did you do the thing I told you to do a year ago? I said, no, I didn't get around to that. But, and
Probably didn't write it down.
that might be. That might be. Well, that's very infuriating to me. I don't have time to. I'm not going to spend another 10 minutes trying to, be more dedicated to their success than they are. So, I think it's extremely valuable. It's not a coincidence that world champion fighters, they don't just have a coach. They have several coaches. They have a head coach, and then they'll have a striking coach, and maybe a second striking coach. And then, jiu-jitsu, and then wrestling, and then some nutrition person, and maybe a sports psychologist, and maybe a few more things that are missing, And, Michael Jordan was winning his, fourth, fifth, and sixth championship, and he had 10 coaches. So when I think about that, if Michael Jordan needed a coach to win his sixth championship, if Kobe Bryant needed the same coach to win his fifth championship, maybe it's good for me to have people around that, that I learn things from. So I really go out of my way. There's some people I never say their names publicly for a few reasons, but there's some people that I feel very fortunate that I had the guidance of, and even in my current MMA coaches, when I want to learn something new, I put my time and my money where my mouth is. When I want to learn something new, I want to find the best people in the world doing that and make myself useful to that, make it so it's their best option in life to spend their time and share some of their knowledge and
Which
wisdom.
goes back to what I said earlier about surrounding yourself with people with the best business acumen that possibly can have.
Yeah.
Right? One cog in the wheel makes the wheel fall apart.
Last one.
I want to ask both of you, when it comes to, you talked about this, when it comes to getting employees, building your team, and making sure every person on your team is right for you, how do you go about selecting the right members, going through the whole process of figuring out who's going to fit perfectly on our team, and what has been both of your experiences in saying no to, like, when people don't feel what you would like them to do as best as you want them to be?
Well, it's a big question. And again, I mentioned earlier that one of the hardest things in business is to find those good employees, okay? So from their resume to their interview to whatever, you pick the best one for you. But it's up to you, again, to lead by example and to communicate. If you're not a good communicator, you're not going to create a good employee, okay? Because you don't want to let them figure things out. You want to show them how to do it. And when they don't do it the way you want it done, because remember, lead by example, that gives you the right to go in and say, no, this is the way it's done. Life is like baseball. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. I mean, if somebody doesn't get it on the third time, I'm sorry, I got to sit them down and tell them, hey, you could do this job here for me over here, but you can't do this job. And if you want this job, it's yours. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Right? You got to be willing to, it's like a relationship with a woman, right? Or a partner. You got to realize when it becomes toxic. And if that little bit of toxicity will affect your entire business like a cancer. So you got to be you want to be kind, you want to be everything, but you want to be strong, you want to be strict, you want to be a drill sergeant. This is your company, this is your life. It either is run the way you want it or they're out. Don't let them dictate to you, you teach them. I'm not telling you to be a dictator. Teach by example. They will respect you more. When I had salespeople, I was the best salesman in the room. No, try to beat me. I don't care if I've been there for 5 years. I walk in the room. I could sit back and still get all the deals. But no, I'm going to pump them up and show them that I can do it better than they can do it. It's good to step in once in a while. I could go on and on about this, trust me.
I don't hire anybody that I don't know. I hire 0 people that I don't know. And if I had people you wouldn't imagine. If you see in the DMs or the inbox, I have autoresponders for a lot of this stuff, so I don't see it anymore. But I get so many, Derek, can I have internship, or give me a job? Imagine somebody saying, give me a job. And like that's the whole message. And thinking that's the most qualified person to do anything for you.
But he's totally correct. But in your own endeavors in yourself, you're not going to get anything unless you ask for it. Don't wait for people to ask you. Ask for it. Right? Very important. If
I wanted any intern that I'd be interested in, I wouldn't hire someone. I'd have a new intern, all right? And I'd want them to show up and not for 3 months, not for 1 month, because then you're spending all your time teaching them, and then they're going to bounce. So if they're not going to make at least a 1 year commitment, I don't want them. I have no
Agreed.
interest.
And then you have an intern who you can actually groom to some of your finest employees, whatever. Now, if an employee lies to you or steals from you, it's like a woman, if the guy hits you, get rid of him. He's going to punch you one of these days. You get lied to or stolen from once, they're out.
Agree. That intern is going to be a previous client. The only people I'd be interested in offering an internship to is someone who was a client before
Who
they were an
knows your
intern.
business.
They already know my business. They already have a connection to me in some way.
That's a great pool to choose from. If you have that ability to choose from a pool like that, a talent pool, absolutely.
So I wouldn't consider bringing somebody in that wasn't a previous client. So when I get those type of messages, I used to respond to some of them, and I don't have time for that. But I mean, who would be the most qualified people that I would want working in the business with me? Previous clients, people that appreciated me, that they know me, they know the other clients, they know what we do. They already, there's a lot of on-the-job learning already, so to speak, that it reduces the training. And then, I'm probably going to get 3 of them. I'll get 3 or 5 of them with the intention to keep 1.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to hire a new person, I'd bring in 3 or 5 interns. I'd tell them a minimum 1 year commitment. I'd pay them almost nothing. And if they didn't hang out for the year and do what they were supposed to do, I'm probably going to keep 1 of them, maybe
And
2.
when you pay them almost nothing and they prove their worth, and then you start paying them something, the loyalty begins.
Then I pay them a lot, though.
Pardon me?
On the back end of that, if they're there a year later, I pay them a lot.
Yeah.
I pay them a lot more than they were going to get anywhere else.
Exactly, and then they're loyal. And I'm going to say it again. I'm not putting down the men in the room. But for some reason, women have a tendency to be very loyal. Don't, if she fits the job, hire her. Just like if he fits the job, hire him. I had a book published. My biography was published by Random House, Crown Books, like about 9 years ago, and my whole story is all in there about what we're talking about. The only thing you won't read about there is social media, because it was pre-social media, so there's no social media advice whatsoever.
Tony's going to ask the last question in a minute, but well, that's formulated in the back of your head is like, this kid started working with me. He was an intern when he was 19. He just turned 24. You're a Taurus too? Yeah, I'm a Taurus also, cool. So that's interesting. So we got 3 in a row here.
Yeah.
May 2nd.
Oh, really?
All right. Hey.
There we go.
So, how many days you had off? When's the last time you had a day off?
What is that exactly?
When is the last time you had a day off? Like actually, if you had to think of a date, do you remember? How long do you think that's?
Can't remember. Yeah, I don't think I've ever taken a day off with you. But
4 years.
when I was a waiter, I took a day off. That's what I did like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You take a vacation, a break for yourself once in a while?
Well, here's my thoughts on that. It's like, why, if you enjoy what you do, why would you want to take a vacation from it?
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to disagree with you, because there is, and I'm just like you. Okay, UFC is, I'm all over the world. I'm going here, I'm going there, right? I'm going to Paris September 3rd, blah, 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 blah. I go in and I get out. Paris, my girlfriend and I'll stay there for a few days extra before the show. But one thing I want to impress upon you, and Derek has impressed upon this with his training and his wonderful job of getting in shape and everything he's doing. I'm 65. I still have a 6-pack. I will compete against anybody. I might break down quicker, but I will compete against anybody, okay? Your health. You have a vessel. When you have a car, you put the best oil and gas in that car, otherwise it's going to break down. Your body needs a break. Your stress levels need a break, whether it's a day or 2, a 2-day weekend with somebody you enjoy or by yourself. Don't neglect it. And I'm sorry, Derek, I'm saying you don't want something to say, but you need to think about yourself. Now, if work fulfills all that, right? Watch what happens when you take a little couple days for yourself and how good you feel when you turn off the phone and you turn off the computer. It's like, I'm a meditator, okay? I nourish my body every chance I get. If you don't have this, I don't care what you have, you will have nothing, okay? So think about that. And I'm really happy because I'm just like you. I swear to God, I'm just like you. I gotta get, my team pulls me away sometimes. Bruce, you need a break, right? Turn down a show once in a while, okay? That's where I'm at right now. I turned down a show to Stockholm because they wanted me to travel to 4 countries in 6 weeks, and now I gotta go to, it's too much on me, So I have to make my own personal decisions. I'm just saying, take care of yourself. Everybody, health is everything. Health is wealth. Eat right, train right, be right, get your energy. If your body's here, you're running companies. You gotta be the best you can be, right? We all get fatigued because we go without sleep, like Derek, like me. We all do what we have to do to be successful, but don't lose track of keeping yourself healthy, right? Eat right, train right, take your vitamins, take whatever. I'm getting a little wordy here, but I'm telling you, to me, it is so important, so important.
Tony, get Bruce's new health
My new energy
soaps,
drink.
etc.
Yeah.
Get his energy drink.
You're
Get
going to
Bruce's
need it the way
energy
you're
drink.
working.
Get some of his new soaps and cologne, and take a 4-minute break next year.
There you go. There's your vacation.
It's 1 minute per quarter.
Sorry, Derek, I had to say that.
He's 24, that's all he needs. And he's a little Italian kid, so you're 24, you don't need more than a minute per quarter. What kind of results you got while you were spending a lot of time at work? He just bought his first property. He made a lot of money in the stock market. He's got a good income otherwise from other multiple things. But how's that going?
Pretty good. I mean, the amount of money I've made in the last couple of years with your guidance has been kind of insane. I never could even have imagined how much money was even possible. I'm sure a lot of people have a similar.
Put a couple dollar amounts to that in Bruce's mind that, kids comes in 19, intern, just turned 24.
So 2019, I had about $10,000 to my name. By 2020, February 2020, I grew my e-commerce business, and that's about $100,000. And then November 2021, from investing in the stock market with Derek's guidance, I turned that to $1 million. So.
Just bought his first rental property.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I owned my first 2 pieces of property. I lived home until I was 23, and I was owning and renting out properties. I was making all the money. You're wondering why I lived at home. My parents traveled every weekend. I worked all week. I had a house in Malibu to myself on the weekends. Why do I want to go buy another house? I made money off the properties that I owned. Just we all make our own personal decisions. You got to make what's best for you. Is that your oxygen container there? Oh, okay. No, that's actually pretty good. I'll probably take a few nips on that as long as you're COVID-free and before I leave.
We'll wrap up and take a few photos, but I think you make a great point. Take a minute off every quarter next year, up to 60 seconds if you need it. And and if you don't take the minute in the first, it doesn't roll into the next quarter. There's no 5-minute breaks. There's no 5-minute breaks. You don't need that shit till you're my age. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Bruce, thank you for coming. I'm gonna stand here and get a couple photos with the guys.
Yeah, sure. Thank you all. I appreciate it. You're listening.
Thank you, Bruce.
Oh, to you. Thank you, Derek.
I was living on my coach's living room on a mattress. I ended up just bouncing at a bar. I'd been a cop. I quit my job. And
Derek Moneyberg presents 10 Commandments of Wealth.
Took the gamble on myself to become a successful professional fighter and make it to the UFC or Pride. At the time, and
Am I making a sacrifice right now, or am I just investing in a better future? So it's easier for me to make those decisions when I think about it. Is like, oh,
yeah, absolutely. And now that you mention it, having to actually really process and think about it, I think that word sacrifice is kind of I believe it's the word that the ones at the top kind of use to make everyone else feel better about it. Because when you're at the top, now you realize that was an investment.
Was everything just golden and easy and handed to you, or do you have a little struggle yourself along the way?
No. Yeah, in 2013 and 2015, I was living out of my car, full time, and I was too proud to ask for help. How ridiculous is that? You're living out of your car and you think you know it all. And 2015, that's when I kind of I knew that I didn't know it all. So why not find experts in that and really shortcut that? I thought I was going to just chip away. I thought I was just going to read books till I was an expert. I never really talked to anyone that actually did it.
It's been about a week since I've joined the 10 Commandments of Wealth program, and there's so many interviews that are offered in this program.
I'm inside the Derek Moneyberg 10 Commandments of Wealth program. This is an awesome program that you're gonna love. I'm gonna use the principles and the knowledge from this program to help me boost my leads in my marketing firm. Buy this program, it's a wonderful investment for your future. You won't regret it and you'll absolutely love it.